Hi, welcome to section 1.3. We're on page 16, and today we're going to talk about the present tense of ser. So we're talking about verbs today. Now, whereas we did nouns a couple sections ago, we're talking about verbs. So when I say verb, I mean any sort of either transitive or intransitive form of action. So in the sentence, so by transitive, intransitive, I mean like action verbs. Those would be transitive. And then intransitive verbs would be like linking verbs. So if you can think back to when you were in grade school learning your grammar, this is what I'm referring to. So today we're not talking about an action verb. We're talking about a linking verb. And the linking verb, ser, which is one of the two verbs we use in Spanish for to be, okay? So a verb in general is going to be, I think, the most important word in the whole sentence. It's the one that tells you the relationship between all the other nouns. Like, that's what it all bases around. So very important to be able to pull out the verb in a sentence, to be able to look at a sentence and say that's the verb, and then to figure out, basically it's like a little puzzle. Every sentence is like a little puzzle. So we're talking about ser, which means to be. Now, when we talk about verbs, we're gonna need to talk about how they relate to the other words in the sentence, and then how their relationship with the subject works. So in pretty much every given sentence, we're going to have this pattern where we have the subject, the verb, and some sort of object. And we'll talk more about that later on, not so much right now. So the subject and the verb. Now, the subject and a verb have a very clearly defined relationship because the verb is going to be dependent in a lot of ways on what the subject is. So just like in English, I mean, that it seems like a foreign concept, but we have that concept in English as well. So in English, we say, for example, I am, right? And we use am specifically with I. If we say you are, right? We don't say I are or you am, okay? So the same thing is going to happen in in Spanish. We're going to have different verbs depending on what the subject is, okay? So if you're if you're still following me, okay, we're going to keep going. So for every verb, we're going to have a pattern that it's going to follow. Okay. Let's see. There we go. 2 and 3. Okay. Every verb is going to have a pattern, and it's going to fit into this pattern, okay? So I think I'm trying to figure out where to begin with this, really, because if this is your first time studying a foreign language, this may be kind of a difficult or at least a challenging concept to introduce if you've never really examined the grammar in your own language, in English, first. So we have these patterns that every verb follows for every tense. Now, by tense, I mean like the present tense, the past tense, the future tense, all of those. We have patterns for them. So like in in English, we'd say I am, you are. We have the tenses as well. So that would be present tense. I am. That's happening now. You are. It's happening now. Then we have the past tense. So we have I was, you were. Okay. So we're talking about tenses. Right now we're just focusing on present tense. So you don't even need to think about the past tense or future or anything else. All we're talking about right now is the present tense. But that's what I mean by present tense. That's what's happening right now. So when we talk about conjugation patterns, which is what we'll see on the screen right here, we're talking about how we form the verb for each person. So we have first, second, and third person. You may have heard these terms before when you're talking about like writing papers in your English class. You have first person, which is I, okay? Specifically I, not me, okay? I is your subject, okay? You have you, singular. Then we have he and she and it. Those are our singular subject pronouns in English. We have we, and then this would technically be y'all, but we're not going to be talking about this one. And then we have they. Okay? Now, why did I say that it's I and not me? Well, I can be your subject, right? You say, I went to the store. You don't say, me went to the store, okay? So we need our subject pronouns. So that would be I, not me. So those are your subject pronouns, okay? Now, once we have that concept in our head of what these subject pronouns are, I can give you the Spanish forms for them, okay? So we have first person singular, yo. Second person singular, tú. And then we have él, ella, and usted. Now, usted is an interesting one we're going to talk about in just a minute. Okay? We have nosotros and nosotras. We're going to skip second person plural, and I'll tell you why in a second. And then we have ellos, ellas, and ustedes. And then that one's special too. So, yo is equivalent to I. Tú is equivalent to you, singular. And then we have él, which is he. Ella, which is she. Okay? Nosotros is we. And this is masculine or mixed group right here. Nosotras is also we, but that's a feminine group. And then we have third person plural, they. Ellos, masculine or mixed. And then ellas, which is feminine. Okay? Now, a couple things I didn't address. We have usted and ustedes. Usted is the formal form of you. Okay? So, usted is technically second person, but it's the formal form of you. So, like, you would use it if you were addressing, like, a professor, some sort of, you know, I say grown up, y'all are in college, but an elder, you know, someone who works in the government, a doctor, like if you're a patient, anyone with whom you have a formal relationship. Now, it is second person, which is like you, but it conjugates as third person. So, usted will conjugate with third person. So, it'll conjugate like él and ella. And ustedes will conjugate like ellos and ellas. So you just have to remember that even though usted means you, and it's a formal form of address, it'll conjugate like it's third person. Okay? So, those are our pronouns here. And it'll be important to know these because you're going to have to use these pronouns when you're conjugating your verbs. All right. So, let's clear this up a little. Actually, I need those. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so these are our pronouns. Okay? this book, the book here, the text is going to get into it a little bit more. Vosotros is the form that we have here, and it basically means y'all. But we don't use the vosotros form in Latin America. We're not going to use that when we're doing our schoolwork. Okay? All right. So there is no Spanish equivalent of the English subject pronoun it. So when I said he, she, it here, third person, we're only going to use él and ella. Okay? So like here, for example, que es una computadora, and that's what we're going to use there. All right, so we have our pronouns all here. I'm going to need to delete this so that I can show you the verbs, but we're keeping in mind if I'm ever referring to first person singular, the pronoun that I'm using there when I'm referring to it is yo, okay? If I'm referring to first person plural, I'm referring to nosotros or nosotras, okay? If I'm referring to third person plural, I'm referring to ellos or ellas, or it might be even ustedes, depending on the context, okay? And ustedes, you remember, stands for like y'all, so like a group, like you all. All right, so I'm going to delete this so that I have room, but just keep that in mind, okay? That doesn't go away. I'm still talking about those pronouns with those verbs, okay? So, first person singular form of ser is soy. Okay? So, yo soy means I am. Then we have eres. So, tú eres means you are. Es. So, third person singular. Él es is he is. Ella es means she is. Or usted es, you formal are. Then we have first person plural. We have somos. Okay? We are. Nosotros somos. Nosotras somos. Okay? And then we have son. So that would be like saying they are. Ustedes, y'all are. Okay, third person because that conjugates with third person. Or ellos son or ellas son. Okay? So these are your verbs for ser, for the present tense. Yo soy, tú eres, él es, nosotros somos, ellos son. So we're going to use ser to identify people and things. It means to be, one of the two verbs for to be. So, ¿quién es ella? Who is she? Or ¿qué es? What is it? Es Marisa. Es una maleta. We're also going to use ser to talk about someone's occupation. So, what someone does for a living, what they are. So, Jimena es estudiante. Isabel es profesora. We also use ser to express origin. So, let's see. To express origin. So, occupation, origin, and then we're going to use possession as well. Okay, so we talked about occupation, and origin. So, ¿de dónde es Marisa? Where is she from? Es de los Estados Unidos. Okay. So, we're also going to use de here. Uh-oh. Okay. And then to express possession. So here we're going to combine de with el to form del. You'll notice that in the fourth example there. Okay, and I just want to note that we do not use the apostrophe. No apostrophe S in Spanish, okay? Students will often do that because they're used to doing it in English, but we will not use that in Spanish. If you want to use possession, you're going to use de. So, ¿de quién es la mochila? Es la mochila de Marisa. ¿De quiénes son los lápices? Son los lápices del chico. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so this is going to come easier with time, and you might be thinking, okay, but those aren't all the times where I need to use the verb to be, and that's okay, and you would be right, because we also have another verb that we're going to learn about later on that will be used to express to be. So we'll talk about that one later on, and then we'll talk about the difference between the two, and then it'll become a little clearer. But for now, all you have to worry about are these examples. So let's go ahead, and I will do manos a la obra with you. So if you want to pause the recording for a minute and take that opportunity to do the activity, go ahead, and then I am going to number these so that I can do this exercise. Okay, so we'll start with 1 through 5. So for here, you're going to provide the correct subject pronoun and the present form of ser. So for Gabriel is going to be he. So we're going to need él. And then the verb for él, for third person singular, is es. Okay? Number 2, Juan y yo means Juan and me. Juan and I. Okay? Juan and I. So that's going to be we, nosotros. And notice that it's nosotros because Juan is masculine. So if it's like me, I am a woman, but if it's Juan and me and I, it's going to be masculine because that's a mixed group at some point. If they had given us a woman's name, then it would depend on your own gender, right? Your own sex. Because if it's a woman, if it's Maria y yo, that depends on if I am a man or a woman, on whether that is going to be the masculine or feminine form. Does that make sense? So we have nosotros and somos. Okay. Número 3, we have tú, okay? Eres. Número 4, Adriana is ella. And we have ella es. Número 5, las turistas. That's ellas. And then the verb, son. Okay, so let's finish up. Let's see. Okay. Número 6. Usted y el profesor Ruiz. Those are ustedes. And for that, we use son. Yo soy. And el señor y la señora Díaz son ellos. And we'll use, oh my goodness, son. Okay, so that's it for this lesson. If you have any questions about anything that I covered today, since this was a lot of material for this lecture, if you have any questions at all, let me know. I'd be more than happy to answer them for you.